G'day guys and gal. Arguably the most controversial of all Space Marine legions and even chapters are the Space Wolves. Not only did Leman make some pretty poor decisions during the heresy that saw the Thousand Sons turn traitor and his own legion getting almost annihilated for very little gain, but the Space Wolves themselves are also regularly mocked for being a bunch of furry dog fuckers. Overusing the term wolf in their naming conventions, having comical wolf helmets, riding giant wolves, and literally howling mid-combat. But there is another side to them, their awesome space Viking side that many people love. But which are they actually? Are they fairies who no one can take seriously because of their obsession with wolves, or is that simply a misunderstanding from a community that doesn't know much about Space Wolf lore? With the Fenrika actually being a sophisticated band of awesome space Vikings that merely use wolf themes and iconography for aesthetic purposes in a tasteful way. That is what we'll find out today. Before we get started, this Sunday we're announcing the winner of the Magnus the Red vs Leman Russ Fall of Prospero diorama, and there is still time to enter. The diorama speaks for itself. Pro-painted Forge World Primarchs magnetized to a custom modeled stunning painted Prospero base with even Leman's two wolves accompanying him, not to mention the epic warp fire made using translucent resin and powered by 4 high-powered UV lights to give it an etheric glowing effect. This is the next diorama made by Dice Dioramas, which also includes the Lion v Angron, Rylanor's Last Stand, and Horus vs Sanguinis dioramas, all of which have been sent to their respective winners. In order to be in it to win it, all you need to do is join any of the Dice Diorama membership tiers, or buy a one-off, no-commitment membership boost. Being a member nets you a ton of benefits, access to a private Discord server full of hobbyists, affiliate discount codes, Warhammer giveaways, and more. Giveaways this Sunday. We'll be doing a live stream for it on the channel. Make sure you pop in. Today we'll dive into the more nuanced lore of the Space Wolves to truly determine if the Space Wolves are misunderstood badass space Vikings or if they quite literally fuck dogs. Let's get into it. Before we get into the nuance, we still need to understand where the Space Wolf furry shit comes from. Is it a justified meme, or is it one of those cases of 90% of the Warhammer community actually knowing fuck all about 40k lore, having never touched the 40k book or codex, and merely get their lore from memes? Well, it's not entirely unfounded. At a glance, the Space Wolves have a Wolf Lord, Wolf Guard, ride giant wolves, go into battle with giant wolves, their rune priests summon ice wolf spirits to fight for them, they can turn into these semi-feral werewolves called Wolfen, they have wolf fangs, and will even howl mid-combat. Not to mention a lot of their weapons, talismans, and armor use wolf iconography or just straight up have wolf heads on them. Also, pretty much all of them are wrapped in wolf pelt. It's even gone so far that some Space Wolves wear wolf head helmets. You can really see where people might get confused with how overdone the theme is. However, something that is very important to note that a lot of people don't seem to realize is that the Space Wolves do not call themselves Space Wolves, nor do they often use the word wolf in a serious manner or use the terms like Wolf Lord or Wolf Guard. They call themselves the Fenrika. Fenrika, with most references to the word wolf actually being a poor translation from Fenrisian to Low Gothic, which is 40k's version of English. In fact, calling a Space Wolf a Space Wolf is almost considered a slur, with the Space Wolves finding it disrespectful as it shows ignorance. Often the Space Wolves will meme on people who just see them as wolf-humping savages, the person often not realizing how stupid they look and how easy they would be to kill. The only time in the lore that the Space Wolves use the term wolf unironically is when they refer to Leman Russ as the Wolf King, a term they use with respect. I do need to note here though, not every Space Wolf writer got the memo, and occasionally you will see Space Wolves throw around the wolf term as if that's what they prefer, but I would just say that's more so shit writing than the Space Wolves wanting to be called Space Wolves. Now that doesn't change the fact that wolves are still very much a part of the Space Wolf culture and identity. Sure, they may not use the words, but they do ride giant wolves into battle, they do use a logo of a wolf's head, and they do have a ton of wolf references. Now the thing is, wolves are cool, like really fucking cool. There is nothing wrong with wolf iconography or aesthetics. Nearly every legion leans heavily into their legion name for aesthetic inspiration. The Iron Hands were led by a dude with metal arms, and they literally cut off one of their hands and replace it with a cybernetic. The Blood Angels wear red, have blood tier iconography, and drink blood. The Salamanders wear Drake hide cloaks taken from giant salamanders, and they're obsessed with fire. The Raven Guard have beaked helmets and favor jump packs with wings. The Iron Warriors are constantly wanking about how iron runs through their blood and how they are iron. The Night Lords are horny as shit for bones, flesh, and bat iconography. The Alpha Legion loves scaled armor plating, like a scaled Hydra, and use a lot of Hydra symbolism. So it's not like the Space Wolves are super unique in this way, however they do seem to take it a bit further than most. Now this is also Games Workshop's fault. Some of them are clearly like, yep, Space Wolves, they're furries, and have created some pretty ridiculous models. Logan being pulled on a wolf chariot is funny but kinda retarded. The Horus Heresy Space Wolves were given an optional Space Wolf helmet pack which is literally a wolf's helmet, and yet in some respects it's cool, but only if they would do it for like the Praetor or Command unit, not an entire squad. On the flip side, they also have Space Wolf beaked Horus Heresy helmets that lean a lot more into the Viking aesthetic, without a hint of wolfiness that actually look pretty dope. So it seems like some of GW is Team Viking and others are Team Furry. Now the wolf helmet isn't a new thing. Some old Space Wolf models, and yes, it looked just as, if not more goofy back then, also have a wolf helmet, so it's clearly been a thing for a while. However, it's also important not to just judge a legion by their entire history. Warhammer is full of goofy ass shit like this, but with the Space Wolf range refresh just unveiled, this gives us a clear understanding of how Games Workshop currently stands and wants to present the Space Wolves, so let's take a look at that. Firstly, they took Logan off his goofy ass sled and put him on an extremely tactical rock, also allowing him to keep his wolf companions, a nod to his old model as well as to Leman himself. Yes, he still has a solid wolf aesthetic, with his pelt, axe, iconography and wolves, but I definitely don't look at him and think, yep, furry. I think, goddamn, that's a badass space Viking. I want to see him fuck shit up. Likewise, Njal and Arjak are very much space Vikings, Njal only having the pelt and Arjak being completely free of any visible wolfiness. As for the rest of the range, overall I would say the furry wolf aspect has been dialed way down, and the Viking aspect has been dialed way up. The elite Wolfguard head takers and battle leaders are awesome. The helmets clearly taking inspiration from a Viking aesthetic, their wolf pelts adding to the Viking theme instead of the wolf theme. For those units, all wolf references and aesthetics actually add more to the Vikingness instead of any furriness, and it's clear from the community's reaction that everyone agrees. As for the Bloodclaw and Grey Hunters, the more rank and file Space Wolves, GW did a good job here as well. There is still some wolfiness, as there should be. Pelts, wolf tails, iconography, and some heads being quite wolfy, but once again it's not overdone and once again looks more Viking than furry. It would almost be weird if some of the heads weren't wolfy. After all, the Space Wolves have the Canis Helix. They have wolf in their blood, so any attempt to try to remove the wolf aesthetic too much would be a bad move and would go against their very lore and nature. Very few other legions literally have the blood of their namesake coursing through their veins. Now for the models everyone is most keen on, we have the Wolfguard Terminators. These guys are fucking awesome, and once again follow a similar vibe to the rest of the range refresh. There are pelts, wolf skulls, and talismans, but overall it's minor and merely adds to the aesthetic. It's clear from this range refresh that the Space Wolves are Vikings with wolf aesthetics, they aren't furries that are pretending to be Vikings. Even the Wolf Priest, which is the only new model to feature a wolf head option, is badass. The wolf head helmet is a reshaped skull that looks intimidating as hell, very different vibe to the Horus Heresy wolf helmets, and it's also actually optional, you could just put on a normal head. These wolf priests are also supposed to act as the cultural, more extra space wolfy part of the chapter anyway, so them being extra wolfy makes sense. As I said, the Horus Heresy Space Wolf helmet could be cool as a singular unit sort of vibe, like the Wolf Priest, just not as an entire squad. Now onto a bit more of the elephant in the room. What's with the Thunderwolf cavalry, the Wolfen, or even the fact that wolf units were released alongside the new Space Wolf range refresh? This is where it does get a bit funny, since you never see Night Lords riding bats into battle or salamanders jerking off the fire drakes of Nocturne. To be honest, this is just something you need to accept about the Space Wolves, even if you see it as adding to the meme or problem. They own their mantle a lot more than any other legion, making them unique in that aspect. So the question isn't really are they wolf-obsessed furries or hectic space Vikings, since to agree they are both. They are wolf Vikings in space. However, if you actually read Space Wolf lore, especially their Horus Heresy books, it really shows off their true colors and attitudes, and the truth is that they are fucking awesome. You really don't get a wolf meme vibe off them. They're actually quite deep, thoughtful, and intelligent. Their facade of wolf-obsessed savagery is often a ploy they use to get their enemies to underestimate them. Time and time again, the Thousand Sons would suffer at the hands of the wolves as they saw themselves as superior, more intelligent, and powerful beings, only for the wolves to surprise them and fuck their shit up. And as a final note regarding the actual wolves that accompany the Space Wolves, there is some pretty interesting lore about them. Fenris was kind of like an experimental super zoo during the dark age of technology. The humans that arrived on planet had to modify their own genomes to be able to survive the harsh conditions. A lot of the deadly fauna on Fenris only came into being after the humans arrived, including all the wolves. It's heavily implied that the wolves were originally humans who fucked up their own genetic modifications, taking it too far, thus mutating into wolves. This is why some Space Wolves say there are no wolves on Fenris, as it wasn't like wolves are native to Fenris, nor are the Fenrisian wolves descended from Terran wolves. This is also why the wolves are happy to fight alongside the Space Wolves. They recognize the human in them as well as the Canis Helix. They are brothers since they are both part human, part wolf. It's just that the ratios are a bit different. So you could argue that the Space Wolves technically have no connection to wolves, merely just the fairies who went a bit too deep. Both sides of the argument are valid, but judging by the Space Wolf range refresh, as well as decent in-lore examples of Space Wolves not actually liking their own namesake, I would say we can say the scale is tilted heavily into the corner of the epic space Vikings. Now we just need to see what comes next for them in the lore, or how how awesome a returned Leman Rust Primarch model will look. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then join Dice Dioramas for your chance to win the epic Magnus vs Leman Diorama, which we will be giving away this Sunday. Hit the subscribe button, hit the real subscribe button for more Wolfie content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.